Someone asked her at some event that Margaret Thatcher was at, what happened at Rendlesham, and the only thing she said was, "We can't let the people know."
Wow. The Thatch knew.
Thatch knew.
Wow.
She probably wanted to tax them.
Yeah, she probably did.
It was embarrassing for her that she's allowed aliens in and she's not managed to tax them yet.
Hello! Welcome to Believe. I'm Phil Green.
And I'm David Ferguson.
And this is a podcast all about the world's craziest mysteries and conspiracies, isn't it?
Well, I like to think it's us getting the information out to the people so that they can make an informed choice about the lies that they're actually told about in the media.
Yes, we are information providers. Information very much in quotation marks. In each episode, we bring on a guest. That guest has picked a myth, mystery, or conspiracy they want to talk about. Then we have gone onto the internet. We found facts and figures, and we talk about it. We try to prove it, or debunk it, or neither, actually, because we haven't ever really managed to do that, have we?
We're just comedians.
We're just the bad boys of podcasting.
Bad boys of podcasting and emphasis on bad.
Yeah. But we give it a bash, and that's all for you. If people want to follow us on social media, where can they do that?
There's loads of places you can follow us. You're spoiled for choice. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok. You can follow us on Instagram. And you can follow us on Blue Sky. Our handle there is BelievePod.
Yes, it's where you can let us know what you want us to cover on this podcast. Also, tell us what you think about mysteries and conspiracies we've been talking about. We post exclusive content about those things. We want to know your opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you had an experience that you want to share with us? Please let us know that. You can also email us, believeconspiracypod@gmail.com. A lot of the mysteries and conspiracy we've been talking about in this season have been suggested by you guys. So keep those coming. We want to know the questions that you want answered, and we will bring someone in or we will make them talk.
Yes, we will. We have ways of making them talk because it's a conversation. That's what this is all about. It's a community sorting stuff out.
Yeah, we'll try and find the answers. You can trust us for that, at least. I'm not going to say we're going to find them, but we'll give it a bash. And if they love this podcast...
And why wouldn't they love
this podcast?
Yeah, right?
There's very few podcasts that you love as much as this podcast, Let's face it. And you fell in love with it and you were like, but they only release one episode a week. But what if they didn't release one episode a week? What if there was a way of getting more episodes every week?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we can make those dreams come true. We have a Patreon.
Oh, yeah, we have a Patreon, just £5 a month. And that means you get an extra episode of this podcast every single week. A lot of our live episodes will now be on our Patreon. We're going to be talking about some of the things that we're not allowed to talk about on the main pod. We're going to have old guests back. We're going to have new guests in as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's loads of episodes out there already. And where can people find a link for that? Patreon.com/BelievePod, or just follow the show notes. Yes, absolutely. We have episodes out there on the 27 Club. We have episodes on the Zodiac Killer. We have episodes on...
Nicolas Cage is a vampire.
Nicolas Cage being a vampire. The
Loch
Bermuda
Ness
Triangle.
Monster.
The Loch Ness Monster. There's loads of episodes out there already, so think about that. You can go back to our back catalogue, listen to all of those, and you're getting a new episode every single week, along with the main episode as well. Oh my God, that's exciting. And you get early access to that main feed too. Plus, they're helping us make the podcast.
Yes, for the price of one cup of coffee between the two of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am doing some previews of my latest stand-up show. If you'd like to come and see that, you can. I will be in Southampton on the 2nd of May. At the end of May, I'll be in Brighton. On the 5th of June in Derby. The 7th of June in Chichester. And on the 11th of June, oh my God, that's an exciting night, because David and I will be doing a double header of our stand-up shows at the wonderful Bedford in Balham in London. Yeah. Think about that as an event. Just think about that.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Everyone's dream. There's a link in our show notes. There'll also be a link on philgreencomedy.com as well. So go there, buy tickets, come and see us. We will give you a big old hug, won't we?
Yes, we'll be delighted to see you, because it's all about building that community.
It is, absolutely. Tell us you're a believer. We'll give you an extra hug for free. Just give them out, just that. Now, George is ready to go.
Well, he
actually was ready to go. Then had a coughing fit.
And then he had a coughing fit.
Yeah, we thought he might die.
But he didn't.
He didn't die.
And we would hate if George died.
Yeah,
that would be awful.
That would be awful, especially mid-pod. That'd be very inconvenient.
Yeah, because we'd have to finish recording and it'd be awkward.
Then it'd be very sad.
It'd be a very sad episode.
And who is today's fabulous guest?
Oh, today's fabulous guest is Richard Stott.
Richard Stott. Richard is a fabulous stand-up comedian who has been on Comedy Central, ITV's The Stand-Up Sketch Show. He's also been a finalist in comedy award competitions. He's had many of his jokes make the top 10 jokes of the Edinburgh Fringe, and he is also the third most famous person from Beverley in East Yorkshire.
Wow. That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Who are the most famous people from?
Absolutely no idea. And what is the myth, mystery, or conspiracy that Richard has chosen?
The Rendlesham Forest incident.
You have been waiting for this one for a long time.
This is a granddaddy of conspiracy theories and events. It's amazing.
The Rendlesham Forest incident.
Run, Forest.
Let's bring on Richard.
Get out of the rabbit hole.
It's a fake. Every single bird in the sky is a robot.
It's fiction.
Doubt your government.
It's an urban legend.
Like if they're actually spraying something in the sky.
No way.
A stream of absurdity.
It's a total fabrication.
Welcome to the podcast, Richard Stott!
Hey guys.
Cleverly disguised beer in one of our mugs.
It's been a while since I've drunk beer out of a mug. It's
Yeah.
been at house parties when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
When the people had run out of glasses, but here we are.
Here we are. Regressive for you then. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we weren't allowed to put the brand out, so that's why we've had to disguise it. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Just done Leicester Comedy Festival.
I have, yeah.
How'd it go?
No, it was quite disappointing. Yeah. So let's have some realness. No, I just not enough people turned up. The show never really got into it. And then I had a good gig at the end of the night, but yeah, I'm going to go on a weekend next time.
Yeah.
I did a Thursday night, and it wasn't that fun for me.
I think that's the key in Leicester.
Yeah.
Go on the weekend. That's when stuff happens in that city. Yeah, that's good.
It's a beautiful city.
It is a beautiful city.
It's my favourite city in the Midlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any others?
Birmingham's got to be
Birmingham's
a close
pretty
second. But
I've been to Birmingham. I don't think I've been to Birmingham. Oh, I have. There's a photograph of me hanging off a building in Birmingham.
have you been to Birmingham? There's a photograph of you. How did you forget that?
It's because, well, I'll tell you why I've forgotten it, because that photograph was one of my MySpace photographs. So that's how long ago it was.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm old enough to have had MySpace. You know.
Are you?
Yes.
You look very. What were you, 10?
I was probably about 16 when I got it.
Oh my God. I could get arrested for talking to you on MySpace.
Back in the days where there was no regulation.
No regulation at
Yeah.
all. That's why I came off MySpace. All the things that, no, bad.
Yeah. Do you remember when people were worried about it back then, and now you think, fuck, it's really snowballed.
It really has.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Why were you hanging off a building?
Yeah, this is the key point.
Yeah, we missed
so
that.
it looked like I was hanging off a building and I was going to fall to my death, but it was, there was a floor below me, like
So it was just fake.
It was fake, but it looked, but the way the angle was, you could see it looked like I was hanging off the building. I was going to die. It's quite exciting.
That's such a classic early social media picture.
It's the
that
proper
kind of
like
stuff.
putting a hand on top of the Eiffel Tower,
Yeah.
pushing the Leaning Tower of Pisa thing.
And I've got a Leaning Tower of Pisa pushing photograph as well.
Oh, you got to do that.
Yeah,
Everyone's got to do that.
I'd definitely do that if I went.
Yeah.
Of course I would.
It's hard. You can't resist that.
When I went up to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, walking up, because of the angle and everything, I went into almost like hysteria. I don't mean like I was screaming. I couldn't stop laughing. And my aunt was with me. We went together, and she was like, "David, what's wrong?" And it was just because of the altered perspective that it made me go a bit weird. And one of the guys went, "Oh, this happens," and it had happened to me.
I can
and
see that happening. I have a little bit of a weird brain like this. Do you know Shaftesbury? The Shaftesbury Festival.
Yeah.
And basically, they've got this famous street in Shaftesbury, which is where they filmed this really famous Hovis advert. And it's
yes,
cobbled street going up it. And I was at the Shaftesbury Festival, and I was unaware that famous street was there. And I was a bit hungover because I'd done my show the night before. And I walked and I randomly turned onto that street and I saw it. And I instantly went, I've had a past life. I used to live in Shaftesbury, and then eventually someone told me, this is the famous road from the Hovis advert.
Oh, so that's where your brain was pulling it from. An ad from your childhood.
Yeah, but logically, I just went, past life.
life.
Yeah.
It's the same as when a couple of months ago I saw someone actually. This sounds bad. I saw someone on the train tracks on the tube, but it was just a tourist who dropped their wallet and they literally nonchalantly just walked onto the train.
Oh
tracks
my
to get
God.
it. I've never seen anything like it. The people were just sort of like shouting, and I saw it in the sort of distance, and my head immediately went, right, ghosts exist. It's obviously a ghost. It's not something you're supposed to see.
That's fucking mental.
Yeah, it was wild.
I know, just with grace of God, they didn't die.
Yeah, because aren't the tracks like electrified?
Yeah, and the tracks
middle
are
bit
electrified.
is, isn't it? The
Yeah,
middle
but the
bit.
thing is, the tracks are electric, but it's not every station has the same electrified tracks. So like you can't go, well, that track wasn't electrified, so I know that. Very lucky.
The guy got up and he got his wallet. He did it so nonchalantly, and he was like looking at everybody like, "What are you so mad about?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
For your wallet as well. I mean, if it was your phone, different thing. But wallet, come on. Mental.
Absolutely.
Strong start, everybody.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
So conspiracies. So we kind of know you're a little bit into these.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
From quite a young age.
Yeah, from quite a young age. So basically, I wouldn't say that I'm someone who believes in a lot of conspiracy theories. I enjoy conspiracy theories because they offer an alternate sort of reality and existence for what we're told, and that's always a bit fun. So when I was coming on this pod, I was thinking about, why is it that I've always had this sort of fascination with it?
Because you're not a fool, Richard.
I think it's because I grew up in a small town in Yorkshire, and there isn't really much going on. I'm from Beverley, which is just outside Hull. To give you an idea of how much is going on there, when the first Nandos opened in Hull, there was a fireworks show.
Rightly
That's
so.
the right introduction.
There was also the first Papa John's opened, and there was a 100-meter queue down the street when that happened.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's also very flat. The whole area is a big floodplain. There's nowhere to go walking and stuff like that. So it's living in a small town, and also at an all-boys school, not a lot of distractions. We all used to sit in IT and look at different conspiracy theories, but going deeper into this, also when I was at school, that's when the Second Iraq War happened, and it became apparent that there were no weapons of mass destruction. And I think we all sort of, because we were becoming sentient at that time, went, oh, the government lies. And then, it led us to go, question things. Let's have a look at this conspiracy theory.
Because that was a turning point, wasn't it? When people when the evidence was coming to light on that, and it was the same time YouTube was kicking off, and Loose Change came out, and all of those things kind of came together. And I think that's a key moment in history where people started to doubt things. We go back to, obviously, we talk about JFK a lot as being kind of the born where conspiracy theories were kind of born and conspiracy theorists were born, and distrust in government started. But that definitely added to it in the early 2000s.
It was a new generation discovering it, basically.
There were no weapons of mass destruction.
No.
A Stargate, apparently.
There's a Stargate.
Oh, I was just about to. And I think that's more compelling. I do. Why did they raid the Iraqi museum? Because they did, of loads of things. So,
well, probably to sell it.
That was part of it as well. But it's very, very interesting.
I think where I'm at with conspiracies is you always have to come up with something that's more plausible than the most plausible situation. And you're looking at me like this is a terrible thing to say, but
no, it is. Occam's razor.
It is. You can very coldly go, but it's more likely that it's just this, and I know that kills everything. I disagree. Sometimes the weirdest conspiracy, or the weirdest explanation is the explanation. Marilyn Monroe was murdered. But JFK was assassinated by his own people.
But this is the thing, because you're right, Occam's razor, usually the simplest explanation is the explanation. However, that universally isn't always going to be true, right? Statistically, sometimes it's going to be something fucking weird that you hadn't thought of, and that's the reason. And that's been proven.
Yeah, and people lie, and governments lie.
Yes.
And like, no, there were no weapons of mass destruction, but there might have been a Stargate.
There might have been a Stargate. Speaking of governments lying, the Rendlesham Forest incident. So the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident remains one of the most famous and controversial UFO sightings in
documented.
And well documented, occurring in December 1980 near the twin military bases of RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk, England. This event involved multiple eyewitness accounts from US Air Force personnel, often referred to as Britain's Roswell. The incident continues to generate speculation, debate, and conspiracy theories. So, Richard, did you know much about this before?
Yeah. I'm someone who falls asleep to YouTube videos.
Me too. I do that. Yes.
And I think I don't know what it is about that, but you start watching a YouTube video, which could be something about, I don't know, top 10 deadliest cats or something like that. You'll fall asleep for half an hour and you're on a 3-hour documentary about how there's a Nazi base in Antarctica. It just sort of auto plays onto these things. Anyway,
which there is, but
of course there is. I've read about Rendlesham, I've heard about it, and I've watched videos about it, and it is actually one of the really, really compelling UFO cases where we are definitely not being told the truth of whatever happened there. It's not been revealed.
No.
That it's true. There's not. This isn't just speculation. There are elements of fact in here. Whereas with Roswell, there's not a lot of actual evidence and fact.
They covered it up.
potentially. With this, there is actually a lot more in it that, in terms of physical evidence, than there was with Roswell, which is why it makes it so interesting. You know a lot about this one.
This is one of my favorites, and one of my favorite things about it was a YouTube video where someone who was the son of someone who worked at Rendlesham, and he had providence, like he really was that person. And he was talking about it, and that interview is gone, because I'm going to listen to that interview and be prepped for this show, and it's gone, and it really bugged me. And I've got a group of friends who are into conspiracies, I do anyway. And I asked them, do you know did you remember that video, the guy, and they going, oh yeah, I'll find it for you, and they couldn't find it, so
And going back to the early 2000s, where, as we were saying, there was a lot of suspicion, speculation, lack of government trust. This being one of the things that a lot of people were making YouTube videos about at that time, right? Because this was 20 years old even at that point, and people were still fascinated by it, but it was still within living memory. It's still living memory for us, but I mean, it was in living memory for a lot of people at that point. So a really good thing to make a documentary about, an easy thing to make a documentary
it's
about.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
So during the Cold War, the United States maintained a significant military presence in the United Kingdom. RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, operated by the US Air Force, the USAF, were important bases housing nuclear weapons. This context heightened the sensitivity of any unusual activity near the facilities. The events in Rendlesham Forest unfolded over multiple nights between December 26 and December 28, 1980, involving credible military personnel who reported unexplained lights and physical evidence. So there's two main incidents here, isn't there? So the first night was on December 26, 1980. The first reported sighting occurred in the early hours of December 26. Security personnel at RAF Woodbridge noted strange lights descending into Rendlesham Forest. Believing it to be a downed aircraft, a team led by Sergeant Jim Peniston and Airman John Burrows entered the woods to investigate. They reported seeing a triangular craft with glowing lights hovering above the ground. According to Peniston, the craft had unusual markings and a metallic surface. He claimed to have touched it before it silently moved away at incredible speed. One of the things with this is that he actually touched it, because in many other reports of UFOs globally, there aren't too many reports of anyone actually physically touching it. They've just seen it in the sky or they've got close to it. But that's one of the things that really stands out on this one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's also a recording of the. I think this is a second night where the army servicemen are approaching and they're radioing to each other, and you can hear them. You can hear them saying that it's right there in front of us and everything like that, and they're being quite matter of fact about it.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can dispute that they definitely saw something and there was something definitely there.
Yeah.
This isn't something that was made up, and this isn't something that was a prank.
Yeah.
You don't play pranks on military bases.
Yeah.
No one does that.
Yeah.
And on American military bases, when it was the 1980s, Cold War,
Cold War,
the IRA,
yeah.
No, you would have got shot.
Yeah.
So, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Because you're absolutely right. The second night, which was December 27th, 1980, on the following night, further investigations were conducted. Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt led a team into the forest with recording equipment. His audio recordings, later released to the public, captured real-time reactions as his team observed strange moving lights, beams of light projected onto the ground, and an object that appeared to split into multiple smaller lights. Holt's memo on the incident, titled Unexplained Lights, was sent to the UK Ministry of Defence, adding credibility to the reports. So, exactly as you said, Richard, when you listen to this, I'm guessing you both listen to this, you do hear them saying, we can see lights, we can see something, and like you said, it's very, because they're military people, so they're not embellishing stories. They have to report exactly what they see, right?
Yeah. But it is mad that he touched it.
Yeah.
It's like
it is a weird thing to do, isn't it?
Like, why would you? I can understand why, but that's intrusive thoughts. So that wouldn't be protocol to touch something that could have been.
It could blow up. It could have been a bomb, right?
Yeah, it could have been anything. But the overwhelming urge to just go. What you're learning from that. But he did it. It's
well, he says
a mad
he did
thing
it,
to do. Well,
but I can't. I find it hard to not believe that, because I think whether he did or not, he believes he did. I'm sure he does, because again, he at the time, this wasn't something that he was trying to, they weren't trying to sell a story. They were just reporting exactly what they did, a documented account. Well, they did an official documented account of what they did.
Because they were defending their base. Again, Cold War could have been like paramilitaries from during the Troubles. So the idea that it was just them playing a prank or not taking it very, very seriously. Yeah. Even if it turned out to be nothing, you have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
So...
do you think he was checking whether it was real?
I think he was just one of those people that you can't trust in art galleries.
Or in zoos.
Zoos or the British Museum or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think he's just one of those people who just can't resist it.
Yeah.
And, he's probably been in trouble in multiple institutions, and to him it was just a very normal thing for him to do. Yeah.
At least he didn't lick it.
Yeah, I mean, we would have got at least a little bit of information out of that if he'd have licked it.
Yeah.
Tasty.
Yeah.
Metallic.
Tastes like raspberry.
Tastes like mercury.
Yeah, it tastes like mercury. The planet or...
Yeah.
So witness testimonials and physical evidence. Numerous USAF personnel claim to have witnessed the light and unusual objects. Some even reported experiencing malfunctions in their radios and compasses when near the site. Physical evidence included unusual burn marks and higher than normal radiation levels detected in the area where the craft was alleged to have landed. Triangular impressions were also found on the ground, suggesting a structured object had made contact with the forest floor. Additionally, broken branches and disturbed soil were reported at the site, further supporting claims of a landing event. So there are some pictures of this, I think, aren't there?
Yeah.
But around that area, there are sort of burn marks in the trees, aren't there? And there is definitely an imprint on the ground, which again, it doesn't feel like they would have faked that, because what would be the reason to do that at that time?
So I think one of the security guards or the groundskeepers or something like that said that it could just be rabbit holes or hens nesting that have made those imprints. But,
nuclear hens.
Yeah, because they were radioactive by that
hens.
point. But also, I think the imprints are in a perfect triangle. They're in equal distance.
Yeah,
and
they are.
like that. So it would be really, really weird for more hens to nest like that. But again, we come back to that thing of what's more plausible at this point. I still think it's, there were... I've got my own theories on what this might be, and I'm not convinced it was aliens.
No, I wouldn't even maybe go as far as that, but definitely experimental craft.
So it's an anti-gravity experiment. Did you guys hear about the Nazi bell, the Wunderweapon?
Yeah.
Which really, if you were at night and lights were distorting it, it could look like a triangle. This was for listeners and viewers, this was a weapon that Hitler tried to come up with. He put all his money into wonder weapons, didn't he?
Yeah.
Rather than actually just funding the army and getting more soldiers. He started building jets and rockets and this thing called the Bell, which was this sort of thing that apparently was full of mercury and it would spin really fast.
And
it would be an anti-gravity sort of object. And I don't know if that would affect... Well, certainly like anything that becomes magnetic would affect compasses. So if they were playing around with electromagnets or basically I think it was some sort of advanced American technology that never really came to fruition, but they were messing around with it in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the reports talk about their compasses and their machinery going a bit haywire when they got near the site. So some sort of interference, something that's interfering with their instruments. So which is consistent with that kind of thing, right? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I'd love it to be aliens, but I often think it's high tech that's not accounted for. I mean, I've said before, referencing our own show from years ago, like there's no providence for the transistor; it just appears. Suddenly we've got this, and that's there seems to be leaps in technology like that. Certainly the stealth bomber, the Blackbird, that was secret for a very long time.
Apparently the Harrier jump jet, we developed that in the 1950s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And no one really kind of knew about that. And then obviously it came into his own in the Falklands in the early 80s. So we had it for that long.
And I guess if you saw a Harrier jump jet in the late 50s when there was nothing around like at the time, something that would go up vertically, you probably would report it as some sort of like alien ship or UFO, wouldn't you? You wouldn't report it as a plane necessarily if you've never seen anything quite like it.
If you were playing around with the technology that you wouldn't have the whole plane attached to it, but you're just seeing if you could do it.
Yeah.
But it does beg the question: why would they randomly do it at a forest at night without telling anybody at the base?
This is a fair point, and this kind of goes back to why were they doing it? What were they doing there?
Something went wrong. They had to activate it to get it out of that region, or they were test driving it. I know you don't test drive planes, testing it, and it had to make an emergency stop there to recalibrate or whatever. Things go wrong.
Okay,
so
could have been
because this was not planned.
You think it was an accident?
Well, I
Or you think this? Okay, so you think this? It was on some kind of mission.
It was a test, went like Chernobyl.
Yeah.
But do you think it originated at these bases, i.e., that's where they were building?
I mean, I know there was like speculation. There was during the 80s there was lots of weird technology that the US government with their bases in the UK didn't own up to. So the Women of Greenham Common is a really great example. There was microwave weapons used in the Women of Greenham Common, and the US say, no, we didn't do that. And yet these were women that had deep tans in the middle of winter, and it wasn't just because they were outside. Like they used microwave radiation on them. And
deep tans in the middle of winter. You get that in Essex.
Yes.
Anyway,
this was the 1980s, man.
Yeah,
And these were mostly lesbians. So, sorry. No disrespect to those wonderful women who stood up for peace.
I don't even know anything about this.
Oh, the women of Greenham. So they were protesting nuclear armament. Say the word for me.
Armaments.
Thank you. On US bases in the UK.
Right.
And they wouldn't go away. And suddenly there's also complaints of them having really bad headaches and whatever. But like they were skilled campers. They knew how to camp. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Even though they were outside, and even though it's British weather, not fun. But like, they were.
Would you take a couple of headaches for a permatan?
Oh yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I would. It's terrible. I'm Irish and very, very pale. Like the lights in the studio are reflecting off me, and that's why you're half blind.
I come here for the tan, to be honest. I mean, this is a great conversation, Rich, but that's really why we're here.
My girlfriend still goes to tanning beds. She's Australian, and
she should know better.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but apparently not. She went to the tanning bed shop in Clapham the day after it had set on fire.
Do you think she just misses being warm?
I think she just misses looking Australian after we've had one of our punishing winters.
Fair.
I do like a tanning bed though, but
it's intense though, isn't it?
It is, but I like that.
I've never been on one in my life. I don't know.
They're quite alien-y, aren't they? Like they look a bit like a spaceship or like a.
The tanning beds I used to go to, and I'm sure they were just cancer machines. I'm sure they were. But they used to give us these copper cones to put on our eyes.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it. And it was before smartphones, so I would love to see a photograph of me with the.
Well, I mean, imagine if in millions of years, aliens do come down, they discover the Earth, and the first thing they find is a tanning bed, and they're like, "What was this for?" It just seems to give you cancer. What were they doing? Was this a form of sort of slow execution they're giving each other?
Sacrifice.
The
But
long
then they
walk
use
home.
it and they're like, well, we don't know what it is, but we look great.
I crave star damage.
Although Mickey went on for a little bit too long. Now he's got a red back.
They're going to have to stop calling us greys.
Yeah. So explanations and theories. The Rendlesham incident has led to various explanations. So extraterrestrial hypothesis. Many UFOs enthusiasts believe the events were genuine encounters with an alien spacecraft. The credibility of military witnesses and the presence of physical evidence fuel this theory. I think that's the thing that really makes UFOologists want to believe this, isn't it? Because the people that reported this, it wasn't like some random hick that saw something and may have had quite a lot to drink and sold it to the National Enquirer. This was a military base where people generally, when you document something, you report fact as is, no embellishment.
I believe that there were higher ups were telling the people reporting it, you need to rein this in. This is not credible. So the people were putting their neck on the line.
Would you hear Margaret Thatcher got asked about it directly?
Yes.
And Margaret Thatcher's answer to the person, I don't know where it was or who it was. I listened to it. Someone asked her at some event that Margaret Thatcher was at, what happened at Rendlesham, and the only thing she said was, "We can't let the people know."
Wow. The Thatch knew.
Thatch knew.
Wow.
She probably wanted to tax them.
Yeah, she probably
If
did.
they were-
Yeah.
It was embarrassing for
Tax
her
them.
that she's allowed aliens in and she's not managed to tax them yet.
Yeah.
But I think the bit that starts making people believe it's aliens over like experimental craft, I was like, why does it have writing on it? It's always mentioned that the craft had sort of like, they go as far to say it was like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
I think one of the actual witnesses said it was like hieroglyphics.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that.
Plays a little bit into the Stargate stuff.
It does.
I mean, I'm thinking, were the US just trying to see if they could get people to believe in aliens? So if they
It's a psyop?
covered sort of like their sort of like technology in hieroglyphics and weird things that were completely unexplainable,
Yeah.
and people found it, they would jump to the conclusion of aliens rather than US technology.
I mean, that was proposed for the whole Roswell incident as well. That's one of the things that was said.
Especially at that time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No internet, no way of sort of checking.
Star Wars had just
Star
been
Wars,
everywhere.
yeah,
Alien had
exactly,
come out, which is such a
Close
great film.
Encounters. It was a real period of that kind of sci-fi boom, wasn't it? So I
Yeah.
can sort of see you were playing into that. But then why would you do that? What would be the point? I guess mind control or influencing population. Maybe that was the experiment.
I think it's like if something did go wrong and they crashed some of this new technology and the Russians found it or something like, people discovered it that weren't part of it, didn't know it, they would jump to the conclusion that it was aliens rather than it was US military exercising new technology on their turf.
Yeah.
Could they disguise their technology as something that people would go to another conclusion for? That's the only thing that I think of as an alternative to why they would cover this thing in hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Logic in that.
Makes sense.
I mean, it could have just been open. Do you know what I mean? That could have been what it meant.
Or do not touch, or
No,
Do you know what I mean?
no
This is
smoking.
the entrance, yeah.
fist this side towards the enemy.
Or fire exit. It could have just been that.
I mean, the guy said it was like markings. It was strange. It was code. But you know what? Maybe they did have a code. Maybe it was a little bit like the Enigma machine, and that's how they were discussing these things. I don't know.
Could be. So military experimentation. Some speculate the sightings were linked to secret military tests, possibly involving advanced aircraft or psychological operations. So basically what you guys were saying, right? Astronomical and natural explanations. Skeptics suggest that the misidentified celestial objects, such as the bright star Sirius or meteors, could explain the sightings. Others argue that the flashing beacon from Orford Ness Lighthouse may have played a role in the confusion.
Fuck off.
Yeah, that actually seems...
not you, but like it's just,
No, I know.
Come on.
This is the theory that the lighthouse was they were seeing lights from the lighthouse. Yeah.
Which is quite a way off.
I used to go to the coast quite a lot in East Yorkshire. It's one of the things that we could do.
When you weren't at Papa John's.
And me and my friends actually did camp on this place called Flamborough Head. And the lighthouse hitting the fog, you could see it, cross, and it would sometimes look like a little spaceship, and sometimes when it hit a gap in the fog, it'd disappear, and then it'd come back. And
Right.
But it's not the same as going up to something and this guy says he touches it and he read it. That's not what you could do with a light.
Just because I'm Northern Ireland, lighthouses are a thing there as well. You go visit it and wave. Anyway,
But also that wouldn't explain the instruments fucking up.
No,
right? Wouldn't explain the compasses going haywire.
it's just so patronizing. Like, it was the star Sirius. Really? No.
No,
These are
no, star in the sky. No, it's too. And like
It was
I say,
Christmas though. You can't remember that.
Look, it could be Santa.
It could have been the second coming.
Could have been Santa.
Could have been Santa.
No, I think. I mean, is there any theories that it could have been like a crash meteor or anything like that?
Well, that's the closest that I've found to it.
Because I always have writing on.
Yeah. Signed, the people of Mars. You're welcome.
You owe us.
Yeah.
Also, I just remembered I actually saw a meteor. Not like a one that everybody sees. I was walking. We've got this place in Beverley called the Westwood where we keep the cows.
Okay.
Right?
This is a Beverley meteor.
This is a Beverley meteor, right? And I was walking over there at night. I think I was going to the next village to go and see my friend. So you would just walk over the countryside.
Yeah.
And
I did shit like that in northern, like back in the day. Like you said to real people, go, "That sounds weird." No, it's just what you did.
I would walk over. There was no phone. There was no phones like with phone lights or anything like that.
Yeah. All in pitch black darkness.
Pitch black darkness.
You took your life in your
and
hands.
you would just go and you would just walk in the complete. And there was cows and stuff like that. And I was going to my friends because we were going to share a bottle of cider. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I heard it before I saw it, and it sounded like one of those rockets that gets set off on bonfire night. And I looked up, and it was a little meteor about the size of a tennis ball or a fist, and it went over my head, and it seemed like about where the ceiling is here. It was probably a lot higher, and it was so close to me that I could actually see the glowing bits as well as the bits that were getting cooler and darker, and it was spinning, and it went over me and into the woods. And that was, I feel like I was 10 feet from a meteor. I think it was one of the rarest experiences I've ever had. And I went to my friends and I said, "You're never going to believe what I've just seen. We've got to go and find it." And he didn't believe me. He said, "No, you're making it up."
No. Well, if you've ever seen Critters, it means he saved your life.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Critters, classic 80s
yeah.
monster
Could've
movie,
kicked
Gremlin
off.
ripoff.
But again, at that time where there's nothing to do, that would have at least been a fun afternoon out.
Yeah.
I think if Critters had turned up in Beverley, they would have. It would have just gone, "Yeah, fuck this," and just
Yeah.
killed itself. No, you know what? I'm being mean. Beverley's a nice place.
Can I just say Beverley is a great name for
It's
a
a
place.
nice historical town,
Yeah.
right? And there's just not a lot going on for when you're a teenage boy. That's the only thing.
Apart from Nandos. So, hoax and psychological factors. Some critics believe that the event was exaggerated or even fabricated. Psychological stress, misinterpretation, and sensationalism might have influenced the witnesses' perceptions. That feels like military speak. Do you know what I mean? So you're talking about the powers that be and sort of top-down approach there, sort of, muddying the waters here, saying, "Oh, the perception was a bit warped because of whatever," because it does feel like they did see something. It doesn't feel like there's nothing here.
They definitely saw something, and there's multiple of them, so they definitely saw something.
And also, there were accounts of these lights that didn't just come from these, but it was some local people, weren't there? And because I think there was I think one of the soldiers was stopped by the side of the road and spoke to a local or something like that. So there are accounts of that. So it wasn't like these were the only people to see something that night as well.
I feel like this happened like 5 years too early as well. They could have come up with a great excuse if it had happened in the late 80s, and they could have just said, "Well, Acid House was kicking off."
Yeah.
There was a lot of forest raves going on at the time, and they probably just stumbled into one of that. It was probably just a van. They were all, and they always have writing all over them. They're covered in graffiti.
Could have been a DeLorean.
Yeah. Have we proved the existence of DeLoreans, though? This is the thing. You've got to prove the existence of a DeLorean, so then...
There's a lot of documented evidence of the existence of DeLoreans. So the Halt memo, Lieutenant Colonel Halt documented his observations in a memo titled Unexplained Lights, which he sent to the UK Ministry of Defence on January 13th, 1981. The memo described the incident over 2 nights, including the sighting of an unidentified craft, flashing lights and beams directed around the ground and the base. Halt noted that 3 depressions were found at the site, possibly indicating a landing. The memo was eventually declassified and became a crucial piece of evidence, further fueling public and official interest in the case. So this didn't become publicly available till a few years after, did it? And actually, this story didn't kick off properly in the media until that release, because no one really knew about it. It was just a sort of report. And I think it was the Sun. There was a front page of the Sun in like '83 picked it up because of this report being published.
I mean, the way he describes it, it sounds like something you go see in the Tate Modern.
Yeah.
It sounds like just, the mysterious lights. Come and see the mysterious lights and the impressions that that represent the way that we're all kind of like the same and not the same at the same time. And
So what we're saying is, it was an artist on the army base who was repressed. You know, like I'm a soldier, but father, I must dance.
this is a credible theory. This is a credible theory.
How are they supposed to express themselves in the army?
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. No, I quite like that idea. It's really a story about artistic expression. That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So the Hall affidavit in June 2010, retired Colonel Charles Holt signed a notarized affidavit in which he again summarized what had happened. He stated he believed the event to be extraterrestrial and it had been covered up by both the UK and US. Contradictions between this affidavit and the fact as recorded at the time in Holt's memo and tape recording have been pointed out by skeptics. I think that's a little bit unfair because inevitably between 1980 and 2010, you're probably not going to remember something in exactly the same way, right?
Yeah, I couldn't remember I was in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely yeah.
I think you tried to forget that.
I can't remember what it is, but isn't there a theory that a lot of our actual memory, a lot of it is actually made up,
Yeah.
and it's influenced quite a lot by, because someone will then go, yeah, but do you remember that this happened? You go, well, I didn't see that, but I'll make that part of my memory. I'll make that because I believe you and I trust you, and that becomes part of your.
Because you want to shape the memory. You want the memory to be clear. So if your friend that was with you give you a bit of information that you don't remember, that becomes your memory, absolutely.
It's like piecing together like one of those nights out, isn't it? And people tell you things that have happened.
Post-mortem.
The worst one I've had of that is when I went to Stonehenge. Have I told you the story before? Oh, it's awful. I went to Stonehenge for the summer solstice when I was about 23, and me and my friends, we all met up. We all lived in different locations, but we met up inside the stone circle. So it's one night you're allowed to dance around in Stonehenge all night.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that we experimented with acid as well. Well, it was the first time I experimented with acid. And I remember being sat on top of one of the stones, and there was people going absolutely mad. And it was lit up, and me and my friend were going, this is unbelievable. It was the best thing ever. And I said, but this acid isn't working.
While sitting on a stone.
But about 2:00 in the morning, this is the thing where we really had to piece things together, because again, we were like, did this happen? Because we were, we both got hit in the face by this big cloud of white powder.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't, no.
It was a hell of a night.
It was a whole flower bag, right? And the people at Stonehenge did not have the money for that. They were dancing around, we were dancing around, we got hit in the bag, hit by this cloud of white powder. I looked at myself and I was covered in white powder, and so was my friend, and it was pissing it down with rain. It pissed it down all night. It was a really bad night. And it was making like a paste, and it was getting out. And then it happened again. And then my friend, he shouted, what the fuck is going on? And then this little kid said, it was my dad. And I said, tell him to stop throwing flour at us. And this old hippie said, no, lads, you got the wrong end of the stick. It was his dad. And basically, because of
The Big Lebowski.
they threw, an 8-year-old kid had thrown his dad's ashes at me while I was on acid at Stonehenge.
That is one of the most beautiful stories I have ever heard.
The thing is, I'm a lovely, considerate person, and I'm like, okay, this means something to these people. Don't freak out. Don't have my friend is in my ear going, is this a dead person? And I'm like, yeah, it's a dead person.
Yeah.
And then it went in my mouth, and it went in my mouth as well. He went, does that mean we're cannibals now? And I think when you're on acid at Stonehenge, that's kind of like the time to go. But the kind of pickup and remembering all the sort of events that happened that night, that was the talking point. But it was the sort of post-mortem.
That's an award-winning comedy show, dude.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
I've already done it. I did it in a show a couple of years ago. It went well. But
remix it.
Yeah,
Dude,
probably.
You keep doing the thing.
It's a book, is what that is.
It's one of those stories that people completely recoil like you do.
No, that was amazing. And being on acid and taking in the ancestors. That's
Well, this is the thing. I just wanted someone to tell me it was terrible, but because I was at Stonehenge surrounded by hippies, they're all going, "Oh, that's so great that you're part of that." I'm like, no, I need a normal person to tell me this is fucked up, and it didn't happen.
but it did.
That story. I've told that story to people before, and they've just gone, "That's absolutely horrible," and I've not spoken to them again.
Did the spirit of the man who you ingested, and I realized that could apply to me as well, in different ways. Did he ever speak to you?
If he did, he immediately told me to have a Chinese, and I went down and I had some chicken noodles straight after that happened.
That'll balance it out. Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Chicken
John.
noodles.
Fair. Wow. Stonehenge, of course, built by giants. We've got a Patreon episode about that. Join our Patreon to find out. So in 2010,
Seamless. That was
It
seamless.
was fantastic.
I mean, it's not now because I went down with seamless, but you know.
In 2010, Base Commander Colonel Ted Conrad provided a statement about the incident to Clark. Conrad noted that we saw nothing that resembled Lieutenant Colonel Holt's descriptions, either in the sky or on the ground, and that we had people in position to validate Holt's narrative, but none of them could. In an interview, Conrad criticized Holt for the claims in his affidavit, saying he should be ashamed and embarrassed by his allegation that his country and Britain both conspired to deceive their citizens over this issue. He knows better. Conrad also disputed the testimony of Sergeant Jim Penniston, who claimed to have touched an alien spaceship. He said that he interviewed Penniston at the time and he had not mentioned any such occurrence. Conrad also suggested that the entire incident might have been a hoax. Feels like Conrad is trying to pull the strings here, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a real.
He's
Really
suppressing a lot
stomped all
there.
over
Yeah, he
that.
really has. Yeah.
That is like, and also the people that have said what they've said weren't. They didn't say that. That's not true. You know, it's. I don't think you'd get away with that nowadays.
No, I don't
think
so.
you could do it. But like we're saying, with the advent of social media and people just being a lot more aware, I think it's much harder to get away with stomping on something and just flattening it out like that.
Yeah, because he's shitting all over not just one person's testament, but two or three here. Because he's talking about the guys that actually found it in the first place, and then he's talking about Holt's recording and a record from the following day. All of these people are professionals. All of these people are just recording what they've said, and he's basically no, they're all lies. They all didn't see what they thought they saw.
I'm right in thinking that some of them actually their careers suffered for speaking about this.
As far as I'm aware, but that's the bit of this story I'm not interested in. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, do I mean it doesn't stick in my memory?
Yes, there was a payout, which I will come to.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So there was some follow-up research on this. So Philip Mantle, a former director of investigations for the British UFO Research Association and author, said he is convinced something happened over those fateful nights in 1980, but doesn't necessarily think aliens were involved. If you look at what those involved said to begin with, the only concrete info was the fact they saw strange lights in the forest. That's what we start off with. Jim Penniston underwent hypnosis a few years back, and under hypnosis, he said the craft was a time machine from the future. So DeLorean. Penniston, a US airman who claimed not only to have witnessed the craft but actually touched it, is considered one of the most credible UFO witnesses in history. Yet even his testimony has shifted over the years from seeing strange lights in the woods to claiming to having encountered time travelers. What we're looking at is contemporary folklore in action, said Mantle. In 100 years' time, people will look back at this incident and it'll be classified as a myth and a legend, just like Loch Ness Monster or encounters with the fairy folk. But I think that's a leap.
I think it's one of those easy things to dismiss it as soon as you say, as soon as you bring in the Loch Ness Monster and fairy folk, you know, you label anyone who believes in this or gives it any credibility as a crazy person who believes that a dinosaur lived.
Exactly.
It's unfair to equate these two things. Also, it is entirely credible that they could be messing around with technology that they don't want to tell us about because they literally do that all the time. So actually, it takes some critical... you would not be thinking critically if you didn't bring this up.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
It is unfair.
And sadly, this is actually the most effective way to stop people questioning.
Yep,
stop
absolutely.
people asking questions because you just go, no, people think you're an idiot. And they go, yeah, okay.
And we said this on the pod before about when, so going back to the JFK thing, where the term conspiracy theorist first started getting used. From that point on, when something suspicious happened or somebody wanted to cover something up, the easy thing to do was label them a conspiracy theorist, because then you're immediately putting them into a category of people go, oh, well, you can't trust what they say because they're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And
it's like how people label everything woke.
Yeah.
And you shut it down and you just make anyone who's floating go, yeah, don't want that.
Yeah.
It's annoyingly effective.
Yeah, ridicule.
Yeah.
We class these things as myths and legends, but the people who experienced them at the time didn't, and it was very real to them. When giving his verdict on some of the common theories about the encounter, Mantle is sympathetic to some but dismissive of others. For example, the notion that SAS troops were behind the incident is rubbish, he says. These were nuclear facilities, and this was 1980 when the Cold War was getting very hot. This isn't the kind of place you just start pranking when the stakes were so high, which is exactly your point.
Exactly what we said earlier. Yeah, you absolutely wouldn't. There was, I think, someone did say that after the incident, someone set up a prank version of it again in the forest.
Oh, I seem to remember this.
Yeah, but it was just a bit of a joke, like, oh, it's happened again, and they went out there and it was obviously just it was just a poorly constructed thing. But that was then used against, like, look how easy it is to prank you guys. Look how easy it is.
Yeah.
But we knew it was a prank the moment we saw it. Like
yeah.
It could just be good British banter.
Bands.
Yeah.
Bands.
Well, were the British present on this base? Because it was American.
It was Americans, yeah. So I don't think there's accounts of Brits who sort of saw it from afar or encountered some of these officers, I think, and had conversations with them. I don't think there's or I haven't found any of them at the time actually seeing anything or being close to the aircraft. It is very much the US, these US soldiers. So between 1997 and 2000, the Ministry of Defence conducted their own investigation to UFOs known as the Condine Report. One of the authors of this report, Dr. Ron Haddo, said the source of the phenomena was not aliens or anything like that, but a form of unknown plasma. He was concerned that the plasma emitted some kind of electromagnetic energy which could interfere with aircraft communications or some sort of cognitive impairment. It could be that these soldiers came into contact with the strange plasma and one of them got too close and suffered from some of the electromagnetic effects. Mantle added that some of the soldiers may have ended up having hallucinations as a result of the plasma.
Well, there it is. I think that's it. I think it's a weapon, and they were testing it on these American soldiers. I think the Americans were testing their own weapon on their own men to see, a weapon that was designed to send electronics haywire and confuse the enemy. Yeah. And you put it in there. And you see, let's see what they do, because they're going to do everything right, and it turns into absolute chaos. And they probably went, right, it worked. It's a little bit like those sort of like sonic wave sound guns that they've got on cruise ships to stop pirates, and it just make them shit themselves or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that was cheaper. You realise that was cheaper, but to me, I think that's what it is.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that a military has experimented with their own soldiers. I mean, that's happened. That's well documented.
What's the big famous conspiracy theories about that? Is that MK?
Well, there's MK Ultra, but that's slightly a different thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of mind control, isn't it?
That's mind control,
right?
And probably exists and it evolved into other things. Like Britney Spears is probably MK Ultra.
What? Hang on.
Yeah. So Britney Spears, the goddess that she is, was manipulated, and then when the programming was breaking down, she was about 30. And that's normally when the program breaks down. And that's when she shaved her head, and they started calling her crazy. Yeah. Instead of just leaving one of the most precious people on the planet alone. Sorry, leave Britney alone.
So Britney Spears, probably MK Ultra.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
Yeah, we've got an episode on it, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads.
Covered it.
There's loads like that, and I think Taylor Swift is one of those.
Oh, she definitely is.
Oh, so when's that happening?
Oh, she's already been activated.
She's already been activated. I don't understand. It's not that I don't like Taylor Swift, but I don't love Taylor Swift. Although I as a gay, I do have some of her songs. But of course I do. And her boyfriend, oh my God. But my point is, she's so bland. I don't understand how she's so popular.
Because there's so many bland people out there, and she's become a spokesperson for the bland people. This country's favourite ice cream flavour is vanilla.
Oh, but vanilla with olive oil on top? Oh,
no, they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't be taking it.
Have you tried vanilla ice cream with olive oil on top?
I've heard about it.
Oh my God. I was like seeing the face of Jesus.
I remember the faces of the people in Beverley when we introduced the first tapas bar. They were, what do you mean it's not one big meal?
I love tapas. Although a friend of ours, Sarah Southern, I always said, I can't stand. Well, it's not I can't stand Taylor Swift. I just don't get her. And Sarah leaned into me and went, not everything is for you. And I went, oh, I get it now. Chapel ruined, mine.
But most stuff is.
Yeah. You know, I'm a gay man. Art is mine.
Referring to the work of Albert Budden, a member of the British UFO Society, who has written 2 books on the subject, he said, according to Budden's research, the Earth naturally produces these electromagnetic forces and sometimes gives off these strange lights, this plasma. Some people could be hypersensitive to the light. In other words, they're allergic. And if you come into contact with these things, you can have the most bizarre evidence and you'll think it's absolutely real. Despite this, one soldier managed to receive a payout following the incident. This is going to what you were saying, which Mantle suggests this means they believe he saw something that evening. John Burroughs contacted the US Air Force a few years back over injuries he claimed he'd received that night, and he got a payout. He's never revealed what the payout was actually for, but it goes to show that the military agrees that something did happen to him that night. Which is true. Right? You wouldn't pay out if nothing happened.
Yeah. And also, like, how many reports has there been at this point? They've been spending thousands on working out what happened and thousands to say to people that nothing happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's without a doubt something happened. A load of people didn't just get together and put all their careers on the line over Christmas to come up with a story that really wouldn't actually even be that funny, would it?
No.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it was over Christmas. You do wonder, was it just a really, really bad hangover?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Might have been Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Shared hallucination.
Shared hallucination.
I
believe in Santa. He's just high tech.
Also, Americans don't celebrate Boxing Day, do they?
No.
It's not a thing.
They don't celebrate St. Stephen's Day?
Is that what it is?
Well, I'm Irish.
Well, I get it,
but I love Boxing Day.
No,
Boxing Day.
They don't have anything in America. They have the day, I think, and then that's it. You're back to work.
Yeah, crack on.
That's depressing.
Yeah,
I remember I saw a video recently, and I think it was, I can't remember who it was, interviewing these 3 industry leaders in Italy, and it was American interviewing them, and they were saying, yeah, we think it's great that our employees get 3 months holiday or whatever, and you know it's good for them. They're happy. They're not miserable when they're at work and not overworked. And the American interviewer is like, well, yeah, okay, but don't you feel bad for them that they're not working as much, and you could be more successful? And they were like, no, it's okay. And then the comments by the Americans are like, and that is why Italy is the 5th largest economy in Europe. And you're like, imagine sunning yourself on the 3rd holiday of the year with your kids and your family and going, fuck, if I did this less, our economy could be bigger.
Yeah.
But doesn't France just close down in August, or am I?
Exactly. Yeah, they all do.
They all piss off down
They all
south.
do.
Yeah.
Germany have a way more as well, and Spain. And we're getting fucked over.
Oh, totally.
We're the mugs.
Yeah. But the economy.
Like 5 days holiday a year, and that's meant to be generous.
Mm-hmm. So the aftermath and government response. The UK Ministry of Defence conducted a limited investigation but deemed the incident as posing no threat to national security. Over the years, declassified documents have revealed official interest in the case, but no conclusive explanations were provided. In the decades following the event, various witnesses have provided differing accounts, fueling further speculation. They wouldn't come out and say it, would they? I mean, they've gone to, as you said, they've spent so many years going to the trouble of deny. You couldn't then come out and say, oh yeah, actually it was a thing.
Yeah. But they have said it poses no threat to national security, which means the Americans gone, yeah, we were just fucking around with something, but don't worry.
Also, it poses no threat to national security isn't something didn't happen.
It's not a denial.
Something happened. It just didn't. It doesn't pose a threat.
It's the Americans going, oh yeah, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's posing no threat.
Yeah. A bit like these wars were starting. You don't need to worry about those. Yeah. Cultural and scientific impact. The Rendlesham Forest incident remains a major topic in UFO research and popular culture. Books, documentaries, and television programs continue to explore the case. The event has also inspired public interest in UFO phenomena and government transparency regarding unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. This sighting has been the source of much debate and speculation among UFO enthusiasts and the subject of numerous books, articles, and TV shows. A documentary made a few years ago concluded the sighting had achieved legend status like Loch Ness or King Arthur. Again, this is kind of dismissing it, slightly dismissive. The forest even has its own official UFO trail, complete with a life-size replica of the flying saucer.
You can go.
Yeah. And I don't
Lads.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go now.
I really want to go.
There's a whole trail.
We take acid.
Yeah, it's...
Oh my God, we have to do this.
acid, a bag of flour,
Come on with this.
and a bottle of cider.
And someone bring their dad's ashes.
Someone bring the tax.
Must be beautiful.
Just nostalgic for Richard. Yeah, you can.
You can go.
Yeah, you can go. And there's a whole trail you could do, and they've literally rebuilt a replica of what was reported. It's massive as well.
Yeah.
It's really good. Honestly, Google it.
I mean, it sounds like an escape room, doesn't it? It sounds like something
Yeah.
that you could do on a stag do or something like that. If they had like people dressed up as aliens that would chase you through the woods afterwards, and it'd be brilliant.
But I love that they've
Let's
embraced
definitely
it
go to this.
in a sort of Roswell kind of way. They've just gone, fuck it. Might as well.
I bet they've done it in a sort of very sort of British bleak Roswell sort of way, though. Like Roswell's like all kind of like, you know, banners and explosions of like color and everything like that. I bet we've got like.
Well, we had Dom Jolly on the show, and he had been to Roswell, and he was just said it's like a tourist trap.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nothing like the TV series.
I bet ours is like a small kind of cafeteria serving sandwiches and.
I still want to go.
But here's
No,
the
I
thing,
still wanna
right?
go.
We want to go.
Absolutely.
And would any of you sitting there going, do you know, I've really fancy a trip to Rendlesham Forest?
Absolutely.
We live nowhere near it if it wasn't for this.
I'm well up for it. How far is it? Can someone get the
Suffolk.
Google?
Suffolk's not that far.
We can do this on a weekend, guys.
We should do this. We should do this.
We should definitely do
a
it.
Patreon thing.
One thing I would say about this is that is a very good way of dismissing it as folklore, right?
Yeah.
You create it as a tourist attraction. Oh, look how silly this is. You can go on the UFO trail. You are kind of, do you know what I mean? It's playing into that kind of, this is a fun thing that didn't really happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, if that was a government initiative, it's pretty smart.
Yeah, I think it's as soon as you start putting a monument up there, and I imagine they have a little bit of alien memorabilia around to sort of like push it towards that and everything like that. It becomes more of a sort of fun family experience for
like
nerds.
Loch Ness monster stuff. Exactly.
Yeah. Also, if we change the way, we don't say UFOs anymore.
So UAPs.
Is that the woke way of saying?
Hillary
They
Clinton.
changed their pronouns.
Hillary Clinton was interviewed by, I think it was Jimmy Fallon. It was one of the late night talk
Yeah.
shows in the States. And she says, if I get elected, so this is a while ago now, if I get elected as president, I will reveal all about the UAPs. She did not say UFOs, she said UAPs. And that's when it really sort of got picked up again.
I wonder why they changed it. There's always reasons that they changed it.
Well, it's when part of it was when you could do a public request for information, say I want to hear everything about UFOs, but that's not, you have to ask the right question to get the information. So there is nothing on UFOs because they're not UFOs anymore, they're UAPs, and there'll probably be a new term very soon for UAPs.
Okay.
That's why she lost the election.
Yeah, she should have.
Yeah.
She should. Anyone
Lost
who
the grey
says
vote.
Yeah. And not the stuff in the pizza.
anyone who says we're disclosing all the alien stuff, they'd win the election in a heartbeat. I think that's all you have.
Yeah.
Well, the US have confirmed there are definitely UAPs.
Well, every president
Definitely.
that comes in says, I'm going to release the JFK files, don't they? And then none of them ever do. So there's got to be something in them.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just a way to drum up support and drum up sort of like drama and theatre around things. Yeah.
So the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident remains one of the most compelling UFO cases due to the involvement of credible military witnesses, recorded evidence, and physical traces. While skeptics offer various natural and conventional explanations, no definitive answer has been reached. Whether a genuine extraterrestrial encounter or a complex mix of misperceptions and coincidences, the case continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts, keeping its mystery alive over 4 decades later. So, Richard, did UFOs land in Rendlesham Forest?
UFOs didn't land.
Did they visit?
No. Something happened though. Yeah. And it was the US playing around with some new technology, possibly anti-gravity, possibly something to a non-lethal way of confusing the enemy. People have physical reactions to this where they actually had injuries. Some of them got money. There was imprints, there was radiation in the ground that was all recorded, and you can hear these military personnel talking about actually seeing it. They saw something. I don't think it was aliens. Why would aliens just turn up in a random forest in Rendlesham? I think it's highly more likely that this was a technology that actually never came to fruition, so we've never heard about it since. That was being experimented with in Rendlesham, and the reason it's such a big scandal is that the British government were allowing the Americans to do this on British soil because they wouldn't do it in America.
I what he said.
We've solved it, everybody.
We're all just going to agree with what Richard said. I don't know about that last part, but I do agree with something happened. I think there's something happened. There's too much evidence to suggest that there was nothing here. I don't believe the idea that all these people have fabricated it. And you're right. Why would you pay something out or for injury when there was nothing there? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I do agree. So there was definitely an incident of some sort. So, Richard, would you like to look at this camera, tell people where they can find you, follow you, all that kind of stuff?
Hi guys, you can find me on Instagram at @therstott. I'm on Blue Sky, but I've forgotten the handle for that. And I'm on TikTok as it's literally Richard Stott. I've got nothing to plug. I've got no shows coming up.
Apart from himself.
Apart from just come to my Instagram pages, come and follow my content, and I've got some stuff like work in progress stuff coming up soon. I'd love to see you there.
Yeah. Go to Richard, he's great. Would you like an alien joke to end the podcast?
Of course.
Okay. How do aliens throw a party? They plan it. You laughed at that. See? They're not all that bad. They're not all that bad.
I mean, as a joke, it works.
That's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye! Bye!
If you like the podcast and fancy extra episodes and early access every week, why not join our Patreon? Just £5 a month and you'll be helping support the pod. Remember, we love you. Bye.